We were talking off air, but I would love for you to speak on this because I notice a lot of people on TikTok are sober curious, and
Mm.
you actually dove in head first.
Mhm.
So, first, can you sort of give us the lay of the land with your journey with alcohol, with drugs, whatever that was, and how you're here today sober?
Sure. And I don't use the term sober, just FYI. I think it gives people this connotation and then they're nervous to be around you. And they're like, I've had people, well, I'm going to have a drink. Is it going to trigger you? So I don't even use the term. I don't like labels. So going back, I was at 16, I was raped, immediately went downhill. I started drinking, doing everything, and then jumped to actually living in Austin in the early 90s, started experimenting with ecstasy and things like that. And because I didn't heal from the sexual assault, it's just a slippery slope like anything else. What are you going to do to numb that pain? Shove it down. And I was quickly in LA. I was the girl up in Barfly on Friday night looking for the guy with the bump. And so 2002, that's a long story we can say for another time, but I did hit rock bottom in a West Hollywood bathroom. I was abusing opiates, doing coke. I was doing everything but heroin, I tell people. And I had that come to Jesus moment on the bathroom floor, got up and then jumped to Housewives with the carafe. Like, did you know that Fireball has like such a big bottle? It has a handle. So I had that in the fridge to be able to get through the confessionals. And it just made me so inflamed to where I couldn't get out of bed. I was so ill. And I just got to the point, I was like, how bad do I want to serve women? How bad? I was starting a coaching business and thought, women are paying me good money. When you wake up just after one glass of wine, sometimes you're just a little foggy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like to
Boy, do
be
I
clear.
ever.
Is that how you feel now after New York?
No, I mean, no, as I've gotten older and especially with kids, like I always say, they don't care what you were doing the night before, they're up. And so
Absolutely.
it's too hard now.
Yeah. So women are paying me good money to help guide them on their life. So it was 2018. And I went 8 months. And I was like, I feel freaking amazing. I am so clear. The bloat is gone. My skin looks better. I'm getting divine downloads. My meditations were so vivid. And I don't claim sober because if a girlfriend has an important birthday, I'm going to cheers and have maybe half a glass of champagne. And that's enough for me.
So, going back to when you lived in LA, you were a top model in LA. I mean,
Well, I'm 5'7".
you
I
were a
wasn't
pretty
top.
big model. From what
I did a lot.
Yeah,
I
you
did
did a lot.
I
of
had a
modeling.
great career. Yeah, I'm very blessed.
Was when you with the drug use and the alcohol, was that did it have to do with modeling and the pressure of it, or no?
Part of it. But when you have a trauma, you guys talk a lot, and I love that you're really opening this conversation about healing trauma. When you have a trauma at 16, and then you're going and seeking anything, fame, fortune, men, the bad boys, anything that was toxic, I was drawn to. I was overspending at Fred Siegel. I was, doing all those things and even overworking. So it was more about what can I do to not think about any of my issues and put on this facade. And so numbing alcohol, really anything, food. I was a binger. I had eating disorders. I would starve myself before a photo shoot, working with Brooke Burke and all these people, and literally go through Taco Bell, Wendy's, and every place at La Brea, La Brea and Sunset, and then binge.
So at this point, when you're in LA, are you in close contact with your parents? Are you telling them what's going on, or did they have no idea?
Oh, they had no idea.
Did you have a good relationship with your parents?
I don't have a great relationship. I'm the oldest and very independent, and the shame coming from, I was raised in Houston by, God-fearing people, salt of the earth people. My dad's Japanese. So he's like the typical, just unemotionally great dad, put a roof over our heads, but unemotionally available. And so, hell no, you're not going to tell your parents and go home and talk about what had just happened to you. My mom didn't know until I was 31. And when I hit rock bottom, I did not tell a soul that I was raped from 16 to 31.
No one.
So that's part of my advocacy, like advocate for yourself, talk to somebody. Like, you guys are so fortunate that you have these apps and, people you can call, and everyone's talking about therapy on TikTok. But back then you didn't talk about this stuff. You hid it. And then you just let everybody believe, whatever facade that you wanted to put on. So it's very, very damaging.
So looking back, let's say you could tell your 16-year-old self advice. What would you tell that person? Because maybe there's someone who's listening that's struggling with a sort of like a secret like this, and it has shame surrounding it. What would you tell that person to do?
Own your shame. We know Dr. Hawkins talks about that's the lowest vibration and, emotion. Own it, push past it, find a confidant, whether it's someone, a friend. Even if I was always kind of the go-to girlfriend. I was the strong one. So who was I supposed to go to? And yes, cultivate a great enough relationship with your parents. Get a mentor. I mentored teenage girls for this reason. It would have been great if I had a mentor that I could have told. But my main mission, speak up, advocate for yourself.
It's so interesting to me that I talk to so many women that talk about being raped or sexually assaulted, and they talk about how there's so much shame involved, and it's so crazy because it's not their fault,
Right.
Which is like it's so wild that you felt like that for so long to me.
Well, because I was already modeling. I was in Houston. I was on all the the commercials and the local newspapers, and everyone at school knew I was a model, and so I had this already kind of created this persona, and I flirted with him. He was a football player, and I had a curfew. It was after a game Friday night, and I was more afraid of my dad, and he offered to take me home and then lock me in the car.
Oh
Ugh.
my God.
Yeah. So, and then by Monday morning, what do you think he did? He bragged about it to the whole school. So what I did, I had my first panic attack, didn't know what was happening.
Because everyone's getting this information
Oh yeah,
from his mouth.
Yeah, people are coming up to me, whore, slut, I can't believe you, with him and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't know what was happening to me. The elephant on your chest, you can't breathe, seeing stars. Went to the nurse and called my mom and said, you have to check me out of the school right now. Don't ask me why. And I sat outside and she did. And did not know why until I was 31 years old.
Wow, though, that's amazing that she checked you out. There's a lot of moms that wouldn't.
I say that a lot about my mom, and just maybe hearing it in my voice, trusting her intuition. Yeah.
So after you had your overdose in LA, was that an epiphany for you?
Big time.
So what did you do
time.
to sort of change your life from that moment?
And just to get a clear picture, were you a functioning drug user? Like
Yes.
meaning like, okay, so you were getting shit done still.
Oh yeah, I was getting 16-hour days at the studios and modeling and all of that. Opiates are a slippery slope. I had a bunch of moles. I'm really moly, and I don't know why they gave me the biggest bottle of Vicodin that you could get. And so I started experimenting. I got, a half a Vicodin with 2 glasses of wine. That's good. It's like ecstasy, And so, I was functioning.
Yeah, I think that's like we've talked about on the show, we've had addicts in our family, and we've had people close to our life that we've talked about this subject so many times. But I think when people look on the outside, like they have it together, or they have a career, or they look a certain way, everyone's like, oh, they're fine.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's the most dangerous, because you're also getting validation from people saying like, oh, you're fine, you're good.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same thing where you think of like an addict on the street or somebody who's not functioning, like, oh, that person needs help. People think you're all good. So maybe they don't even think about bringing it up with you.
Well, and I had, you think of all of the layers of things. I was a perfectionist. So I was still the go-to girl. I was still the strong one that all my friends came to. So me, a hot mess on the inside, slowly dying, but on the external, had it all together.
Yeah, not to generalize Asians or Japanese. So my grandma's full Japanese. I don't know if you know that, like full.
Mine too. So you're quarter.
I'm quarter. My mom's half.
I'm quarter too.
Yeah,
my dad's half.
But I think about, even my grandma, she's not 94, and she just came over for dinner, and she was yelling at my aunt about the way she was holding our child. Right. And still, like, it's still to this day, like it's never enough. It's like, oh, that could be better, improve. And I think there's a lot of pressure.
Maybe passed down to you a little bit.
No, but when you talk about perfectionism, and I'm sure a lot of people listening, like, you have those kind of parents where it's like, instead of saying good job, it's always like, oh, it could have been it could have been better, right? It's not like that was really great what you did. It's like, you should have done this to make it even better than it was.
Rarely praised. Rarely praised. Never told. My sister and I don't think we've ever, and I love my dad. I've had such healing. I can now say in my speaking engagement a few years ago, I blurted out, my dad's been my greatest teacher. And there's mega narcissism. There's, all this stuff. On top of, he is a redneck Japanese man.
That's an interesting combination.
Yes, very. And so never were told we were beautiful or smart.
I have a love-hate relationship with that kind of upbringing, because in some ways I think it serves me where I don't need a lot of outside validation, right? Because you kind of almost have to validate yourself as you're growing up.
Yeah.
And then other ways I'm like, maybe that's nice. But I always tell her, it's something that I have to work at in our relationship, like giving that verbal validation, because I didn't, and not that I had a great childhood, but not in that way where it's like, I wasn't getting that verbal validation really like ever. Right. And so, it served me in ways that like I can support myself and feel confident with who I am and not need a lot of that outside noise. But sometimes I think, like, I wonder what it would have been like if it was different.
Absolutely. What's your love language?
Probably, what is it? She says acts of service is what she says.
What's yours?
Mine's everything.
No, hers is.
I'm too.
It depends what day it is, yeah.
And thank God I married a man that affirms me every day. Like making up for the lack of what my dad didn't say. My husband is like all day long, every day, telling me,
Do you ever feel like
Tiffany giving you some tips, Michael Bostic?
Well, sometimes I even get a little bit uncomfortable when people give me compliments.
Yeah.
Right. I'm
That's
like, it's
receiving.
unfamiliar.
Yeah, receiving is. I know. I'm still on that journey.
Yeah.
So going back,
anyways, not about me.
You were going to tell us about after you had that moment when you had overdosed. What the next day? What did that look like? Did you immediately change your life? Was it slow? If
oh my
someone's
gosh,
looking
it's been
to
so
change,
slow.
Yeah, tell us like what happened after that moment.
So, on the bathroom floor, I thought I was dying. I didn't know if I was ODing. I didn't know. And I was raised in church, turned my back on all spirituality, completely disconnected. And I just was like, God, please don't let me die in this dirty bathroom. In West Hollywood, they're built in the 30s. It was probably like baby pink or puke yellow tile. I'm like, please don't let me die. My face is like, smashed up against the floor. And I thought, and I didn't die. And I woke up and I thought, okay, what I've been doing, like, this is a great moment. And the term spiritual awakening wasn't in my rhetoric at that time. And I thought, okay, I've got a second chance. I now believe rock bottom moments are sometimes the most beautiful because you have to relearn. You have to look at what you've done up until then and say, okay, what did not work? And so it was a long journey. It's still a journey. But I started taking a look at, living with intention versus living by everybody else's intention, whether it's parents, whether it's casting directors and modeling agents, or what your friends are doing.
Oh.
What do you want to do with your life? The gifts that God gave you. How are you going to self actualize and fully express yourself in life? So it's been a journey of that.
What was the modeling industry like when you were in it? Like what the nitty gritty? We've had a lot of models on here, and they say all different kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine it's almost like how social media is now, but in a microcosm, because there's so much press.
You hit the nail on you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I can't even imagine if social media was around when I was in the midst of that. I do want to say it was awesome because I got to see the world 3 times over. This small town girl my first house was a trailer. I have gotten to see the world, the most beautiful places. I don't know that I would have without modeling. But it is one of the most soul-sucking. And I love fashion. I love the whole industry. I love the creativity. I love makeup artists. I love the sets. But the way you are objectified, the way you literally are going in and you're competing. So the competition that we have, right? Scrolling that we feel every day, if we're not really in love with ourselves, you're comparing yourself to everyone. You're going in and 100 girls, like it is a cattle call. And that's how you are going to be able to pay your rent, hoping that you're picked. So it's like nothing else I've ever experienced.
I just read My Body by Emily Ratajkowski, and I was blown away at the stories that she was telling of like men asking her to do the most inappropriate things, taking off her clothes. Just like, and it's almost like what you just said. It's like you have to do it because you have to do like what they ask because they're the picker.
Yeah.
So did you have moments where you're just like, this is so crazy that I'm doing this? Like, can you remember something where it was just like nuts?
Many moments. Oh my gosh. Again, going back to self-love, looking back, that's why you guys have a daughter, not just showing her love, but so that she loves herself.
Yeah.
Enough that when you're in those moments that you're like, no, I'm not taking off my top. You don't need to see my titties to get this job. This has nothing to do, right? So, but you're so many of these girls we're seeking something else that we weren't getting. And not all models. I mean, plenty of models that have healthy relationships with themselves and their families, but I didn't. So I was seeking, begging, thirsty, hungry, starving for validation, for recognition. See me, hear me. So the see me part with the body, see me, and that's really unfortunate. There were a lot of crazy things. Never did the casting couch. I can hand on the Bible. Thank God I never went that route.
I mean, it's the stories. If anyone wants to read, she tells these stories, and
it's real.
Casting couch is like
it's very real.
Blow them.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
No, she tells stories where she she would go to someone's house to do a shoot, and they said it was like a studio, and it's like their house.
Yeah.
And
a lot of that went on.
There also another story where someone took all these photos of her naked, and it was supposed to be like a test shoot, and then the guy came out with a book.
Oh my gosh.
Of the photos that he came out with a book
with
of
her.
Without, she didn't make a dime because he owned the photos.
And she signed the release or whatever.
She signed the release.
Oh no.
And the photos were just supposed to be just test photos. And he did a whole entire book about her, and she didn't get one dime.
I'm so glad that she's telling the story.
Yeah.
Because the more we can talk about this, because it can be you love fashion, you love beauty. This industry is not going away. It's multi-billion-dollar industry. So if we can educate girls and empower them to love themselves so that they can, advocate for themselves in those moments. So you know what? This doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. But you're so disconnected that you're just like, oh, you see me.
It's almost like you need to learn to be incredibly self-aware of what works for you and what doesn't work for you.
If there is one good thing about social media and the way we all engage now online and see things, it's I think it is harder now for, I don't want to say, but people like that to get away with these kind of practices, right? Because there's a big flashlight that's shined on them if they try to do that nowadays.
Yeah,
right?
that is a really good thing. Now, the picker is no longer the guy with his gut hanging out.
Yeah.
It's the picker is the audience.
Well, especially now, anybody that's engaging in that kind of behavior has to know that it just takes one person to name them, and the internet will just eat you alive, as they should.
Sure.
Yeah, that's actually a nice feeling, to be honest.
Yeah.
When did you meet your husband? Because I know you guys have been together for a while, like Michael and I.
Yeah, 18 years. And it's so funny, I get giddy still talking when I'm asked about him. I was actually dating his friend. And we were two hot messes on it, like Hot Mess Express. That didn't last long. But I had met him, and he was on a big record label. They put him up in the Hollywood Hills in a mansion. So I would be doing blow in his bathroom, and he was like a good guy, and I was still attracted to the bad boys. The more toxic, the better. And about a year later, after I'd hit rock bottom, which was actually 20 years ago this spring, I came to Dallas. I came to Texas to sober up and put myself through kind of what I call a self-imposed rehab. I was celibate. I didn't even drink alcohol, nothing. And I bawled literally for 45 days. It was so cathartic. It was the first time I told anyone I was raped. And went back. I was ready to go back to LA and ran into him on Beverly Drive. And I wasn't a Beverly Hills girl, but my manager was in Beverly Hills officing, and came down the stairs, ran into him, and we were married 4 months later. We literally ran into each other, and I was like, his hair had grown out a little bit. He had this swagger.
I love when their hair grows out a
I
little
know.
bit.
He had the boy band, NSYNC hair when I first met him.
Same with Michael. Oh my God, I know exactly. And then
that was a style for a while.
No, but you're just and then you see
especially
them with their hair growing out a little bit.
In the 90s for sure.
Yes. Yeah. Thank God that we're over that phase, because
maybe I'll bring it back.
No, Michael had the spikes.
No, so did Aaron. Oh. Yeah, he had, and it was tipped
Everybody
with
did.
Blonde.
Oh,
yes,
please.
I never got to the frosted tips because I couldn't figure out how to do it. But
thank God
that was a thing for a minute. I would have done it if I knew how.
Yeah, but then when the hair grows out a little bit.
No, he was like, oh my gosh. And it was one of those moments, I know it sounds so cliche, but we were standing there talking, and it was like, the heavens opened up, the angels were singing, and we just had this instant hey. And we were both so myopic about our careers. I never thought in a million years. So it was funny because, he was just like, we got to do this. I can't go. We were making tuna fish sandwich in the kitchen. I can't go another day without being married to you. So we got married at the end of the Santa Monica Pier.
Very, very cute.
Yeah.
And you guys are, I saw a little bit of it on Housewives, which we'll get to, but it seems like a very sweet, stable relationship.
Yes. I would not be where I am without him, because I knew I was in such still the beginning stage, like toddler stages of healing and getting to know myself. There was no way that I wouldn't be here. He is so rock solid that when I'm freaking out or whatever, I always say, right now, I'm all about sacred nervous system. Like, does somebody calm your nervous system or not? And I no longer call people toxic. I'm like, let's not put the labels. So back then, it was like he would walk through the room. Still to this day, he'll come home and walk through the room, and I could be in my head or geeking out about something, and he's my human Valium. He calms he is so grounding that I wouldn't be here without him.
He sounds like a winner.
Why don't you
Sounds
talk
like
about like
Chicken dinner, winner.
You should talk like about me about like this.
You ground me, but you sometimes are not sacred on my nervous system.
Okay,
Well, Aaron's not perfect. Sometimes, like when I started really focusing on this and not drinking, and now he's doing 1 year no alcohol. He's finished, I think, in December, and he's like all the IPAs lined out. But he comes in, and I'm like, boop, 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 like back it up, like the truck. I'm like, you're coming in hot.
That's what Michael did. I
And
know
you got to back it up and clear it and come back in.
Yeah. I'm gonna use that so much.
Like clear it.
Sometimes they'll just be like, I'm disengaging.
Yeah.
I'm unsubscribed from this conversation.
I'm not available. I always say I'm not unavailable.
I've got A, B, and C to do, and then we can regroup.
Yeah,
you have to put
we could
parameters.
not be more opposite in terms of like that kind of energy.
Yeah.
Like I'm
You've
coming in
more
hot a lot.
sensitive though. To it.
Well, I've had to because like it was just I realized it was too much.
I
right?
mean,
Well, you're building an empire. You guys are building an empire.
That's
So
nice,
like
thank
there's energy that, right? But it's how are you being responsible for it?
A lot of people
Right.
don't know this, and I've had my fair share of party days, but I've never done cocaine in my entire life, like ever. And the only reason it's not because like I'm scared of it. I just know that type of thing with me, I would probably fucking love it.
Yeah.
Because I like to go fast, and I'm like, if I ever got into that world of things, like I would probably never stop because I love that feeling of going fast.
And it's the frontal lobe like on fire and best conversations. And that's why high powered people love it because it just makes you
Just go fast.
I will say though about cocaine is not what it used to be. Like cocaine back in the 60s was pure
How
cocaine.
the hell do you know?
Because I just know I don't like cocaine. That's not my thing. I don't like how it makes you feel. It makes you shit your pants because it's laced
Ether.
with baby laxatives. Like
Yeah.
it's not even cocaine now.
Yeah, I had a dad that grew up like he's grew up in that era, and so he would always tell me, he's like, hey, whatever you are gonna do, it's not gonna be like what everybody
Right.
used to glamorize and talk about.
Yeah.
The frequency of cocaine compared, I was telling Michael the other day, to the frequency of mushrooms. Like mushrooms and psychedelics and plant medicine are on like one side. Cocaine is on the totally different end of the room.
Yeah.
So I think it's just like, the frequency of cocaine is a lot.
I agree with you. And I love that you said that because that's something else to pay attention to. Everything from the water you drink. What's the frequency of the water you drink? Right. So like any drugs, if you're using them, I know plant medicine's huge. I haven't even gone down that route because I haven't even tried a Xanax because it has been 20 years. So I am so sensitive. Like, what am I putting and what portal is that going to open?
The opioids are scary.
Scary. Super
Especially
scary.
Xanax. People think Xanax is one of the most dangerous.
Oh, is it an opiate?
Well, I don't know if it's considered
But it is addictive. It is
it's a
addictive.
barbiturate.
Yeah,
I think.
but
I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, it's dangerous. People.
A benzo?
And what I tell women that come to me and I start coaching them, a lot of people take them, they pop them like TikToks, they're in the bag. God gave us breath. 5, and I know that you both practice that. 5 long diaphragmatic breaths are equivalent to what your body, your nervous system, to a Xanax. So just breathe. You don't need the Xanax.
I want to talk all about hormones and your wellness journey, but before we get into that, I want you to tell me what your experience was with Housewives. I really enjoyed watching you on the show.
Thank you.
But I can say after meeting a lot of the Housewives that it seems behind the scenes that it's, 1, a lot of fucking work. It's a lot more work than it looks like. And 2, it's a lot of stress and energy that you're taking on that you wouldn't have in normal life.
Yeah. I want to preface with it. I am so grateful for it. I did it with the intention to, help Aaron's music. I mean, he's thriving doing music in Dallas, and it's not a music town. And for Sanctuary of Style, that was my YouTube channel. I wanted to graduate it into something bigger, a bigger platform. And watching what Bethany did, I was like, okay, I like her program. Like, she's one to follow, right? I'm so grateful for it. But it was of everything in my career, it was the most challenging, soul damaging, difficult situation I've ever been in. And for that, I am one bad bitch because I went through it. And for that, I would go through it again It was so hard. But if on the other side, I've done the fire walk with Tony Robbins. Like, what is on the other side of it? What I've gained and the woman I've become because of it, if that was the path, so be it. But it was, you are waking up at 3:00 in the morning. Did she really say that? Oh my gosh. What is your comeback going to be? Right? And I don't operate like that. I had brought back my spiritual Australian musician to Texas. I had done all of this inner work, inner child work, therapy, all of these things, hiking my ass off at Runyon Canyon was like my church. And here I am in this situation. Literally 6 months after we moved to Dallas, I started auditioning and we didn't know it was Housewives.
So when you say you had a bottle of Fireball to get through it because it was so much stress on your nervous system that you just were like, I need a drink.
Yeah. No, you have to drink to get through it. And I think that, of course, with the toxicity of the inflammation that stress causes. So that's why, being around stressful people, how are they around, your nervous system? And then you throw alcohol, binging, and it triggered my eating disorder again. And I had been cool with that for like 15 years. Yeah. Yeah. I found myself up in Taco Bell, like, give me that. Like, I could not believe what it triggered in me.
Is it because you see yourself on TV and you because I know the camera adds 15 pounds. You're like, I don't like what I see, or was it because it was so much stress?
No, it had nothing to do with weight or anything. It was
just the stress.
The stress and taking you back. Again, I had come, I had just a long ways to be enlightened, but I had come so far to be thrown back into these situations.
It's
right?
So interesting that you say that, because that's exactly why I wouldn't do it, what you just said. And I've actually never articulated this. Yeah. It's because to do a show like that is to be thrown back into the high school bullshit when you've worked so hard to progress past it. Yeah. That when you do a show like that, a part of you feels like you're just being pulled back in.
It is. It's
to what you've worked to get out
of. It's a vortex. It is a negative vortex. And I'm not perfect. I get triggered. Right? I mean, Japanese are there's some strong people. So my dad, I've got this fiery, he's an Aries, I'm a Leo. I've got a fiery personality. So, on the show, it wasn't a glamorous moment, but I'm almost gotten a fist fight. I've never gotten in a fist fight with anyone. And I almost tried to kick somebody's ass. That is not me, right? So you are obviously responsible. I'm responsible, but you are put in a situation. You signed the contract. They are giving you alcohol. You're getting all this left and right from all these women. And then, yes, you are seeing it in their confessionals and what they're saying about you. And that was part of the hardest for me.
Well, and I feel like there's obviously some kind of pressure to engage in that kind of behavior and activity, because if not, it's like you're not good.
Oh, I was terrible. Right? I'm terrible for reality TV. I am such a peacemaker. I fight for the peace. I want to keep the peace, and peacemakers make very boring reality TV.
How does that work when you said what they said about you? Is it like you would watch the show like a viewer, like everyone else, and then hear what they said about you and be like, oh my God? Or did you see
you think high school and what I said about the bullying that I experienced at 16. So it's heightened, right? You're on TV. It's like all the things are added to it. And these women are acting like your friends. And because we didn't know it was Housewives, you guys, it was a working title. No, but I was friends with Kelsey and Camille back when they were married. I did a show for them. I lived around the corner from Lisa Vanderpump's restaurant. I knew all about it. But we weren't named Housewives until after we wrapped filming.
So what did you think it was? Or just think, or how did they present it?
A working title of how to make it in Dallas. And Ladies of London was getting really popular, and we were going to be the first Ladies of iteration in the state. So we were going to be Ladies of Dallas. That's why it was very charity driven. But yeah, when you're around these girls and you really are wanting to make friends, I really did just move there. I wanted, I felt like a fish out of water. I was the LA chick that, I'd rock my Steve Maddens and feel confident, and everyone else is, driving their cars and, the Louboutins and all the things. And I'm like, I'm happy as pie in my Steve Maddens. And on the confessionals, they are trashing you.
Just
but
going
in person and, in these, you're becoming friends. So it was a shit show.
So after Housewives, is that when you decided to get sober, or is this
Yeah.
closer to now?
No, it was after. It was actually about a year and a half. I was so ill. I was so sick. In fact, I showed a photo recently of the reunion. I was so sick. I had, when you're highly inflamed, moving to Texas. I don't know if you guys experienced or still going through the allergies and your body getting used to the allergies.
In the first year, it was really brutal.
Yeah.
Now it's something past, but
yeah, I was constantly drippage and would create bronchitis. So I was sick constantly on antibiotics, and now I don't believe in antibiotics, but I was sick for the reunion. I was hopped up. I had Fireball in a flask in my dressing room, and I was on cold medicine. And I got to the point where I was literally like feeling as if I was arthritic. I had a bad hip. My back was constantly hurting. And one day I could not get out of bed, and I'm a doer. And Aaron's like, babe, stay in bed, just rest. And I'm like, I literally, and I wouldn't say I was suicidal, but I had this moment of like, I'm done. I am like, my body is shutting down. And I was drinking. I mean, it was like clockwork, 5 o'clock, start drinking. And that's how I got through the show. And it just continued. And so it was another rock bottom moment.
I think a lot of people that are on these reality shows use alcohol as a crutch. And I mean, listen, I get it.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of stress. It's not normal habitat
No,
to
it's
be
not.
put. It's just not normal.
It's
I
not.
can understand. So is that the moment that you decided that you were done? That moment when you couldn't get out of bed?
That moment, and I was really, women were like, my side hustle was this coaching. And I just thought, okay, am I going to do this? Imposter syndrome. Who am I to coach anybody? So I had to go through a year-long coaching program, and women were wanting to hire me. And I did. I had that moment of clarity of, am I going to show up fully for these women? If they're seeking my guidance, like how dare I take their money and only get a quarter of me or half of me because I'm foggy, right? And my body was inflamed. I was not my best self. So it was a combination of my body shutting down and how am I going to serve? Well, you're only getting 50%. So I decided, I said, I started off with 6 months. My husband and I did 6 months, and I felt so good. I went another until my birthday in August. And I had a little champagne for my birthday that year.
And you look amazing. in
Thank
person.
you.
I mean,
And I was 44. So ladies, I'm such an advocate. I'm like, so, we're on the other end of the spectrum. You're having babies, and I just went through menopause. But I wish I would have heard this conversation at 38 to 40, because at 44, not only was I going through the inflammation of drinking and the negativity so heavy in my body, but I was going through perimenopause and I didn't know it. So I felt like a truck, like a Mack truck.
oh my
hit
God.
me.
Well, first I want to give you a compliment. You posted a YouTube, and I don't know how I found it. And I talked about this when you were on my blog, of you applying It Cosmetics to your face. You're fresh out of the shower. The lighting is like, it wasn't like lit or professional or anything. You're putting on this foundation and you're just talking about it. You sold me on this foundation. To this day, I still use this exact foundation. The way that you sold it was so influential. It was
Oh,
it was
thank you.
impressive. Like
coming from you, my God.
no, it was very,
Wow.
very, you weren't trying to sell it. You were just talking about it. And anyways, that's when I first started like really following you.
Mm.
And you're very personable and influential. So I can see why a lot of women follow you.
Thank you.
What do you think, what do you think that is about you? Like, what do you think people are so attracted to you? Because you do have a lot of clients I know that looked for your advice.
Oh my gosh, that question. Oh my goodness, you've kind of stumped me. I think because they can genuinely feel that I want to help end their suffering. If they can end, I don't heal anyone. I don't empower anyone. I guide you. I'm like a Sherpa. I've been telling women lately, I'm like, let's get your empowerment tool, like the rucksack, the backpack full of tools, get you out of the valley, and let's go trekking up the mountaintop and put the tools that work for you. So I've been on this long journey to figure out what works for me. And so I think that I am a no bullshit policy, and people can feel that. I mean, we all know that now. You scroll enough, you've interviewed enough people. Like, I can smell contrived and fake a mile away.
That's what I think it is.
Yeah.
It's like you don't, what I think so great about you is you've actually been through it.
I've been through it.
So
yeah.
you're like a practitioner as opposed to like some guru that's like, I can change your life and motivate you. It's a different energy.
Yeah, 140 characters on your bio on Instagram saying you're an expert in something. Give me a break.
I think that that's what's so compelling about you is that you've actually been there and you've been through it. And one thing, and the main reason I wanted to have you on the podcast, and I would love for you to go off on this, is you're such an advocate for testing your hormones.
Yes.
And you say, and you've said this in most of your content, is you say, if you haven't tested your hormones, like you don't even know what you're dealing with. Can you talk about that with women?
Yes. So ladies, at 38 in LA, I went through, you go through these, and I'm sure you're feeling it. You've talked openly about postpartum. So you know the roller coaster, right? Because at 38, so your body's going to be going through this transition, right? And if you're breastfeeding Towns and like all the things. So at 38, I broke out in horrific cystic acne. And for somebody that is part Asian and I've always had immaculate skin, it was devastating. And I didn't know why. I did not know why. I just thought it was stress. I thought we were eating crap. I don't know, drinking. That was devastating. I wish someone would have told me to start checking my hormones then, because I had horrific PMS. I had debilitating PMS. I feel like 2 weeks out of the month, which is half of your life, I needed antidepressants. And I've been down that route. I was on Wellbutrin, I was on Klonopin, all the anti-anxiety medications, all the things. And so jump to 44, 45 after Housewives.
And you never figured it out at 38?
No.
You just went through it. You're just going through it.
Just going through it. No, literally thinking I'm mental. I literally thought I tried all the antidepressants.
So then fast forward like 6 years later, Housewives. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I remember I was walking and I had listened to a great podcast and I got in my car and I was at the light and I was all lit up, energy's high, and all of a sudden I was like, I just wanted to start crying. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like, what is wrong with me? I just had this great walk. And I'm like, I've got to figure this out. And I don't know who it was. I don't know how it was, but I got my blood work done and I was -3 in testosterone at 44. -3. So what is the overall like conversation? Oh, you're going to be 45. Your body falls apart. Just deal with it. And I'm like, no, I don't subscribe to that. No. You know what I mean? I'm like, I got a lot of life to live. I have like been a late bloomer and I don't even subscribe to that term anymore. So all you ladies that feel like you're not where you should be at your point in life, I just turned 51 and I'm just getting started, right? So you are where you're supposed to be at the right time. So checked my hormones, got flooded with testosterone. Aaron was like, get off me. I was getting back hair, like all those things because you
needed to balance it out.
Yeah, it wasn't done properly. So I'm like, okay, I tried that and it didn't work. And so I've been on this journey. And again, my pain for the purpose, ladies, learn from me. Start younger, because everything from the plastics to the additives in the foods, all the endocrine disruptors, like perimenopause is happening a lot earlier.
Seed oils, all that shit.
All of it. Yep. All of it. So get ahead of it so you can enjoy. My 40s were a blur. That's why I truly feel like Tiff 2.0. And so, and then after menopause, it's even better because you get your hormones regulated and you don't have to deal with period. It's awesome. Right? It's so good.
It sounds very nice.
I know, it's so good.
So when you did hormone replace it, were the pellets what you were using?
I do pellets. I do testosterone pellets. I have a compounded natural progesterone.
Why are you touching your butt? Do you put them on your butt?
Yeah.
Wait, you put them in your butthole?
No. I know you're fascinated with the butthole.
Yeah, God, man.
Where do you put them?
I keep thinking about it. I'm like, when can I send my butthole? No, it's just under the skin. And I love the company. I'm a spokeswoman for them. It's called Sotopelli Therapy. They are awesome because they check your levels. Like I need to go in 2 more weeks. I just got a new pellet a month ago. At 6 weeks, they want to check your levels. They check everything so that they keep you regulated. So you're not constantly dipping.
Wait, I'm sorry.
And so they put a pellet right under your skin. It's like literally a little lidocaine.
Like right here.
Yeah, right up like on the top part of your hip.
Like where you would get a B12 shot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the owner, she explained it to me. I interviewed her. It's like your bloodstream every time your heart beats. It's like a lollipop, and it just gets the right. So it's not for everyone. A lot of women are nervous about it because it's implanted and it's there for a good 3 or 4 months.
But you've never felt better.
Never felt better.
But blanketly, what I think
So good.
is for everybody, men, women, is no, like people don't check their hormones or get their blood work often enough.
Yeah.
Right? You
And
just
go
through.
to the right provider that checks all the thing. I know you have issue with your thyroid that you've up and down with. So with the thyroid, are they like the T4, I don't know the proper verbiage, but the testosterone, the free testosterone, the estradiol, right? I had a little bit of an issue this spring with realizing I didn't need the estrogen pellet. So are you eating hormone enriched, they're supporting your hormones, eat the right foods. And some women prefer a cream. They get a testosterone cream. But men, Aaron's about to start testosterone.
Yeah, I mean,
You guys go through andropause.
Sure. And we've had a lot of doctors, and we've talked about this a lot on the show, and we talk about a lot of different supplements and different things you can do. But I think people sometimes get overwhelmed because we talk about so many different options. And what I keep trying to tell people is you can listen to all those options, but it's kind of pointless if you don't know where your levels are at.
Get the data.
Get the data first, and then go in and be like, okay, this X vitamin's lower, this hormone's low, and then take some of the information from this show or others and supplement. Because if you're just doing a bunch of stuff and you have no idea where your levels are at, you're kind of just in the dark, and it's going to be overwhelmed.
Well, and what happened to me at 44, 45, it was a nightmare. I was so aggro. It made me worse. And then I was gaining weight and was trying to do intermittent fasting while I was unhealthy with adrenal fatigue, and it doesn't work. And you're working out so hard, and you have to do the opposite when you're healing your adrenals. You need to slow down on your workouts. So it was a hot mess for like a year and a half.
This is a reminder that I have to get my hormones checked.
Yes.
But honestly, I just hate getting my blood drawn.
It's worth it. Just shift it into how good you're going to feel getting them checked. And I agree with you.
Because you can overdo things too. If you're say your certain levels are already high enough, you could overdo it. Right.
And I did that with estrogen. I had an estrogen pill and it was a little too hot. I was too hot.
Yeah, because what might work for you might not work for Lauren, and vice versa.
Again, the blood work, the data, go to someone that can read it. And I went all the way to Scottsdale. Now we have a provider in Dallas, but I flew to Scottsdale and he was wonderful and explained. And I was taking DHEA and he was like, like certain things. I was like, everybody's taking this and everybody's taking that. Even the supplements, right? It's like, are your D3, K2, all the things, but get it checked. Get this information. I love that you guys are interviewing all of people that I love. But then cherry pick, like find what works for you. And you start with your blood work.
Two things that have helped with balancing my hormones, and this is what's worked for me postpartum, because the first postpartum was a fucking disaster. Looking back, fucking disaster.
We almost didn't get through it.
I honestly, it was like, I was so depressed. But this time, what's really helped is weightlifting. That has helped so much.
Yes.
I cannot recommend it enough. Again, go do your own research. But like for women, I think that that's something to look into.
No, I've seen you talk about that. And I love that you were mentioning that because especially postmenopausal as well, it's like the bone density, the muscle and all of the benefits. I've been eating red meat like twice a week. I mean, I was
good for you.
I know. And we were vegan and then Aaron had some gut issues. We were plant-based for 2 years. And even, eating, I woke up, we had beef tacos, of course, grass-fed, all the things. The next morning, I woke up and went to a pretty strenuous bar class and killed it. I was so strong. So combining all those things with the weight training, at any age, really, at any age.
Yeah, weightlift. But I'm not talking about you and I think are on the same page, but just for anyone who's listening, I'm not talking about going and swinging kettlebells and running on a treadmill and listening to techno music. That's not what I'm not talking about.
That would
CrossFit.
That would surge my nervous system.
Not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about weightlifting with intention and taking breaks in between and really being strategic with which muscle I'm working on. And the other thing is cold plunging.
I haven't gone there. I know y'all are all into it. I did all the things for y'all. I'm like, I got to show up with we could probably do, one up each other on our morning routine, but
I'm going to ask you that.
I'm like, I watch y'all do that and I'm all about the Wim Hof stuff, but
you got to try cold plunging.
I know. I hate it so much. I'm one of those people that will inch into a cold pool. I'll do the contrast shower all day long, but I know because the inflammation, because I'm so about lowering inflammation. I'm almost there. Not quite yet. I love the infrared sauna,
you'll
but I'm
hate
not
it in
yet.
the beginning, and then you'll crave it, and you'll have a hard time not
This is
doing
what
it.
completely reframed it for me. Instead of looking like I hate the cold, look at it like this. It's the hardest thing, hopefully, you're going to do all day mentally. Yeah. And when you do the hardest thing that you're going to do all day mentally in the beginning of your day, everything else is
1,000%.
So it's like, the way I look at it is like, okay, this is so hard, but when I'm done with it, it's like, you just feel so accomplished. You feel less inflamed. You have more energy. I swear to God, it balances me out immediately. It's the weirdest thing ever.
It's so amazing on many levels. The psychological part is such a benefit. I mean, Tony Robbins has been talking about it for years. To this day, he's like, I hate doing this. Every morning he hates doing it, but he knows he has to do it.
Yeah, I think I look at all this kind of stuff like weightlifting or, any of this kind of, or even with work, it's like you can find a ton of success in life if you're just somebody that's willing to do what 99% of people aren't willing to do, right? And it's not to say you have to be some crazy performer, but just, if you're one of those people that's like, I'm going to do what the majority of people will never do consistently, like you have an edge on everybody.
Oh, yeah. 1%er.
1%. Your morning routine, I'm going to ask you, give us the whole breakdown. And then I also need to know your nighttime routine.
Okay. Non-negotiable. I am so stealth. No one can penetrate my morning routine because it has gotten me off of antidepressants, and it is my VIP meeting. And so any woman that has this idea, even my mom, I have to give my mom so much credit because she would get up about 4:30 or 5 before my dad. She would read her Bible, put on her makeup, drink her coffee, and she had like a little mirror by the couch. And so by the time she woke us up, she was so in a good place. And it was never rushed. It was never those crazy mornings. She would make us hot breakfast. And then I got older and I realized, wow, she's the original morning routine advocate, right? So I wake up and I have a trigger and it's the same in the evening. I have a trigger or an anchor in NLP right when my toes hit the ground. So if you don't catch your thoughts in the first 20 seconds when you wake up and start flooding, I'm going to have such a great day. Even if your body, in a hormone, wants to stay in bed, I just start flooding. I'm like, God, I'm so grateful. I'm alive. I'm awake. As soon as my toes hit the ground, I start my gratitude. Go pee all the way down to the couch. I am whatever I can think of. I'm flooding myself because my mind is so powerful. Chronic complainers come from a line of chronic complainers, had to do a lot of rewiring. I start making the coffee. We're real bougie about our coffee. And, no, actually, oh my gosh, back it up. I start with the chlorophyll and lemon water. Can't believe I skipped that. Chlorophyll and lemon water. I douse it. I love it. I'm obsessed with it. And then I start the pour overs, and we make pour overs. And Aaron might come down. Sometimes he gets up first and he'll start them. But I start the binaural beats in the kitchen on Sonos, before, because my mind is so powerful.
What frequency?
It's 528, y'all.
528, yeah. All right. We're on the same frequency.
Yes.
That says a lot right there.
Yeah, I have to start it in the kitchen because that is when I'll be like, well, what is it? And what am I doing with my life? And, even at this point.
You're so like everyone.
Right?
Going down
Yeah, so I have to flood the kitchen. The aroma of the coffee, and we're real particular about our coffee. And so,
what's your go-to coffee right now? I need to know.
Well, we love Bulletproof. We've just done all the research, and it's the cleanest, and we love the flavor, and we like I think it's called the Mentalist.
Okay, I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah,
check it out.
But we have all our things, and I put Himalayan pink salt, and sometimes I'll put grass-fed butter. Sometimes I put coconut oil. A lot of cinnamon. The Ceylon,
our coffee
the Ceylon cinnamon. You've got to put the cinnamon in your coffee. Yeah.
You made me a cup of just plain ass black coffee today. I need you to up your shit.
I don't think black's bad. Luckily it's not like a bunch of sweet.
Well, if you're
creamers.
Intermittent fasting, you should do black.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you're gonna do intermittent, but
okay, but I met a couple in New York that told me that she gets her coffee in bed and her husband wafts it in her face. Okay. I need you to waft.
Wow.
Go ahead.
That's extra.
Take a tip, guys.
So we love our coffee. I go back upstairs and I have what I call a spirit spot. I have a meditation chair that's real comfy. And I brought you a gift. So I've heard you talk about your friends in New York. Are they putting their feet in, a litter box because they can't ground? So I actually, when I went through melanoma, my holistic doctor said, I want you to get a grounding mat because you have to be on the phone and on the laptop so much. So it's actually a grounding mat. When you are on the computer, you can literally you're grounding. So the creator of this, actually, you should do a collab and get him to make a pink one because it's just black and ugly. But it's amazing. So I sit on my grounding mat while I'm meditating with the 528 going off. Like Joe Dispenza, I got the angels. I call in God, Jesus, like Archangel Michael. I have such vivid visuals and I love it. I love it. And some days are harder than other. You know, those days are just like, I can't get into it. And then when you click in, it's magic. And you love yourself and you get clarity. And I set my intention. Everything is about the power of intention for me. I mean, I know that's Dr. Dyer like 20 years ago, but the book, the concepts hold true today. And I can get out of that meditation chair and face the world. So coffee, you don't want to see me until I got my morning routine.
That's what I tell Michael. I say, just let me meditate.
Yeah.
Let me make the bed.
Yeah.
Let me get my light.
I could be better about the morning routine.
Yeah, but I've been impressed. You've been trying to meditate.
Are you meditating?
I'm
Aaron
trying.
just started.
I'm trying. Yeah, I mean, I've had too many smart people like yourself come on here and talk about the benefits, and I feel like I'm clicked in a lot of other areas, but that's an area I've struggled to jump into.
Well, what I recommend and what I tell the women I coach is that we are getting all this information. Transcendental, I'm a dynamic meditator. I visualize while I'm meditating. My mind is too crazy. I'm an artist. So when I first tried it, like most people, you are an overachiever and then you suck at it and you can't calm your mind and then you feel defeated and you don't want to do it. But when I let my imagination soar and I do the breath work with it, that's what works for me. So finding a way that works for you. And that's what Aaron's doing now. He's like, I've been watching you do this. And I'm a totally different woman than he married.
I haven't liked the ones where there's someone talking to you in your head. I need it to be, for whatever reason, I know like she's been a fan of, and listen, a lot of those guys and girls that do that are great. But like for me, I haven't enjoyed when there's somebody talking to me. I want it to, like, I could do it with the hurts.
And I'm the same way. Like when I was going through healing, my doctor wanted me to get my lymph nodes out. After I had the melanoma surgery, I was like, absolutely not. My intuition says I don't need another surgery. So I did the healing and cleansing all my lymph nodes and I did the Joe Dispenza. And then I went back to just myself and the sound.
I think you go through seasons with meditation. The Joe Dispenza morning meditation is my favorite because I feel like it's a strategy session with myself.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
I want him to come on the show and talk to him, but when I listen, he sounds like we're going to outer space together.
We are going to outer space.
Right? Like that's what it sounds
no,
like.
I go to the ethers.
Yeah, but
I
like
I go to the ethers.
Settle down for a moment.
But
So
I
like,
can
whoa,
understand.
whoa.
When you're starting out, I do agree. Aaron is the same way. He's getting into it now and he's seeing some shifts. And even when we were driving recently, and I'm terrible with him when he's driving, and I'm just terrible backseat driver. And it's always a fight. It's always stressful. And he was like, babe, can you put on the 528?
Yeah.
And I'm like, in the car. I'm like, wow, this is shifting when we're like putting it on the car.
Yeah,
right?
I love the 528. You know what else? It's why I've never gotten into yoga because I go to these studios and then the teacher's like, just settle down and talk. I'm like, no, I can't do that.
My 2-year-old daughter the other day looked at me and said, I want frequencies. And I said,
I love
what?
that.
And she goes, frequencies. I'm like, I don't think a 2-year-old's ever asked for that. But
is she a crystal baby?
Yeah, she is.
Yeah,
Whatever
I
that
can see
means,
that.
people have said that. I mean, but
Towns has the eyes too. He's very alert.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's nice.
Even just the few videos, I'm like, they have such alert eyes that she is going to be drawn to things like that.
people think we Photoshop the eyes. Like people,
Because they are so unusual and strong and powerful. Like
her grandmother had those eyes.
wow.
No, the eye conversation on Instagram, I get attacked in my DMs.
I'm just never going
They
to
think you
address
put
it.
a filter on it.
They think I put a filter
Oh
on
my
my
They
goodness.
think we make the eyes bigger, and it's funny because like I was like, do you think we have the time and energy to go through every video and every picture and do that? And also the eyes are there's something in the head that never change size, even from
Yeah.
you're born with the same size eyes that you're going to
Oh,
have.
really? I
the rest
didn't
of-
know
yeah.
that. Wow.
And so I was like, listen, you're just going to keep going through life, and the eyes are going to still be the
Yeah.
same.
Are
Yeah,
you
it's
an
weird.
indigo child?
Yeah.
I know. I can
Yeah.
tell. I can tell. I could tell right away.
Yeah.
Okay, so you told us your morning routine. I
Mhm.
would love to hear your nighttime routine. Tell.
Okay. I am not a stealth with my evening routine, and I'm getting there. But the one thing that is a non-negotiable, I can tell it's part of because I'm seeing such amazing results. Because we'll Netflix and chill, and I'm falling asleep like Dahmer right now. It's like, well, you're gonna wake up and have some crazy Handmaid's Tale. Like, why am I falling asleep to this? Like, it is really whether it's theta, beta, delta, whatever brain frequency that you're in, it truly does affect your sleep. And I already have vivid dreams anyway. But one thing that is like transformational is, again, the trigger or anchor. Even if we Netflix and chill, and then I wake up and stumble upstairs and get in bed, as soon as and I'm sleeping, I've trained myself not to sleep on my side, just for preservation and
that a thing?
wrinkles.
Oh yeah, it's a thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you got to
Yeah.
sleep on your back.
Yeah. So I've got 2 pillows like bumpers
Oh,
on
shit.
the side. No, I'm going on about 3 months. I have broken the habit. I'm a hard side sleeper. So I get all that settled. And as soon as I say, I intend to wake up as my highest self, full of joy, so happy. I'm going to rock tomorrow. It's going to be an amazing day. Something to that effect. And I wake up and I'm like, shit, that really works. You know?
You seem like you're really rooted in gratitude with anything you do.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think with a near-death experience or something to that, when you have everyone's spiritual awakening is different. I was in the Seychelles on a modeling job doing sunrise yoga, and I hadn't hit rock bottom yet, but I was just starting to crack. Someone had given me The Artist's Way. I know you love that book. And I was doing my morning pages, and I started journaling, and I was there, and the sunrise overwhelmed me. And I just started crying, and I didn't know why. Because I didn't allow myself to cry. So, when you go through what I've been through, you're like, I got a second chance. I should be dead. I mean, the Hollywood Hills parties I've been to, doing drugs with random people. I mean, I should be dead over and over and over. There are so many situations that my angels, God, I was protected because I've been in Ibiza in some crazy situations, doing drugs in London underground bars. I should be dead.
I think that you are put here to help other women. You can totally see that through your content, your message, just your intention. You can tell what it is.
Yeah.
Where can everyone find you to work with you? How can they work with you? What does that look like?
TiffanyHendra.com. I have done some masterminds and some group programs. I love one-on-one because we pray together, we set intentions together, we partner. I don't call my clients just clients; they're partners. So I do it. It's very high end. It's very high touch. I keep my roster very small because my TV hosting and everything I'm doing on the platform, My Wellness by Nature. We have a show called So Thrive with Tiffany Hendra, and it is all about living with intention and the small changes, just like you guys interviewing, taking these nuggets from all these different doctors and experts to create your own wellness path. So are you, being proactive about your wellness and thinking well thoughts, living a well life? Or are you like Stat 911? I've had a lot of these little health crises. So it all goes together, whether it's on those platforms with my partners or it is one-on-one with women. It's about ending your suffering, ending your own suffering. And a lot of these women, they are like, I just take an antidepressant. You're 45. It's over. Out to pasture, right? You're getting old.
That energy. It's so weird with women.
And I'm here to stop it. I feel better. I mean, 36, 50, I feel better now than I did at 36. I was not even like, you're like all about the hydration. I wasn't drinking water. I was like, literally, when I think about water, the simple thing of women like, I'm so tired. What do I do in the afternoon? I'm like, have you hydrated? Just try the water. And they're like, oh my God. I'm like, it's something so simple. When you're stressed out, take some deep breaths. Women are shallow breathers. So how are you thriving in life? And to me, thriving with, this concept of hashtag So Thrive, are you living within the intention to live well? Are you living with the intention to spread love in the world? It's either dis-ease or it's love. It's either illness or wellness. Hate can be transmuted into love, simple shifts.
I think that you already have helped a lot of women, but I think you are going to continue to help a lot of women. I think this is so unique and very, very important conversation because it's true. It's 45. They're trying to put you out to pasture. Yeah. You're right. Get on the antidepressant. And I also think women and alcohol is not talked enough about. You hear so much about with men, but I feel like there's a lot of and I'm seeing this on TikTok too. There's a lot of women who are secretly having a bottle of wine every night.
Yeah. And I was one of those, not a bottle every, but issue as well when you get to that age, when I think back in my party, even just until 6, 7 years ago, I cannot believe how much I drank. I cannot believe what I could put back. I would mix constantly. I mean, from skinny margarita to the rosé to Cristal to bourbon or whatever, like that. Now that I know it's a poison. So ladies, when we're younger, we can metabolize things different. So when your hormones start changing, like it's disempowering, start paying attention. It is like, how does this make me feel? Right? The conversation I'm having with this friend that always calls me that wants to gossip, how does that make me feel? Right? I didn't like the way it made me feel anymore, when before it was like, woohoo.
I
Right?
think the first step is becoming aware of how you feel. And
Yes.
that's what I think meditation has helped me with so much, especially Joe Dispenza. It's like actually being aware of the conversation, maybe the friends calling you where it's gossiping, and tapping in and being like, wait, this doesn't feel good. I also I'm a big fan of taking inventory at the end of the night and being like, okay, what could I have done better today? And where can I improve? And then also waking up with an intention of inventory, being like, okay, today I have 12 calls. Like my intention is to listen instead of talk. Like I think that it's important to take inventory and book in your days with that.
Yeah. It's about presence. You know, The Power of Now, the Eckhart Tolle book was transformational. My husband is an artist, so he's totally in his head a lot. He's just creating. And so presence, right? And with yourself. We want to be seen and heard by other people, but do you even see yourself? Are you listening to yourself? You got to see and hear yourself first. And I had a big chip on my shoulder. My dad didn't, no one listened. And I was like, yeah, everybody needs to hear me. Well, I was like, well, I'm not even tuning in and listening to myself, right? So that is everything. Presence in each moment, each call, 12 calls, that's a hell of a lot of calls in one day. But you are connecting, and what energetic exchange are you going to have with each of those 12 people? It's your responsibility. It is my responsibility. It's all of our, but most people don't take it on. They're not even conscious. So awareness is everything.
I also think even evaluate, if you have 12 calls, evaluating how you did after those calls, I could have listened more. Just being aware is the point.
Yeah. You're I mean, I love you guys together, and I love the different perspectives. But because I have the gifting of listening, being the go-to girl when I was little, I can hold space for people. I didn't realize it then. But when you ask great questions, you guys are such great interviewers, but it starts with, you have to be a great listener. And the act of listening is really, when you think of being present, it is the greatest gift that you can give anyone.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I think it's taken 500 episodes to get there.
Of course.
Right?
This is our 500 episodes.
No, we just did it, but it's like 501.
Okay.
Your 501.
Okay.
But still, but no, I think and listen, we get feedback all the time. Like I know, it's been interesting to be in this seat because, you're having so many of these conversations, and it is about listening, but then also you have to kind of carry a show and make sure that it goes, not off the rails.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it's definitely been a practice of listening. It's made me a better listener in life. I was notoriously not a good listener for a long time. So this is like a weekly or bi-weekly now practice where we go in and actually just hear all these stories.
Yeah. And now it could be a practice that's now mastery. We talk about the 10,000 hours or anything like that, but it's the same with the coaching. And now I'm interviewing different doctors and experts on So Thrive. And my partners are like, wow, that was your best interview yet. And I think, because I have been doing this with women on Zoom or in person, where you have to hold space for people and it's so sacred, then in my interviews, it's, so I think everybody needs to do something like this, whatever medium it is for them. I think everyone can work on their listening.
What I've found personally, Lauren, tell me if I'm wrong, I think we're able to now develop deeper relationships with people faster, because even in our private lives now, we're so used to having conversations that are not so one-sided, right? And so I think when, to your point, when people feel heard, they open up so much more, and you can dive much deeper into a relationship with them. It's not so surface.
Yeah,
right?
I can't do surface anymore.
It's hard.
It's very difficult. I mean, everything is an energetic exchange, and I go deep fast, and I can tell immediately if someone is able to do that or not, and I can keep it with them, but I will cut that conversation short. Right? I like to go deep. But it is truly, if we can all bring more presence to the world, I think it would shift the world. Put the phone down, sit with yourself, and then get out in the world and navigate that presence with everyone that you encounter, whether you are getting a Starbucks, whether you are at the gym or with your friends, because there's nothing more disheartening when you are trying to go to lunch. I've been sacred, even with my lunches, certain people, I keep up leveling. I'm like, I cannot give you 2 hours because I'm going to leave there and you haven't asked me one thing about myself. And it's been all about me holding space for you and all your drama. And I can't do that anymore. I'm
I also
unavailable.
think if you do have to go to lunch or do a call with someone or something, I think it's important to set hard stops. So I just say like with anything, not even if you like love the person, I think it's important to just be like, this is the time that I have until, and just being super upfront with that.
Well, speaking of alcohol too, and we won't go too deep into this because we've talked about it, but I feel if you have to have a drink to get through a dinner or a lunch or whatever with someone, that should be, you should listen to that. That should be an indication too. Like without the drink, could you bear this conversation or could you have that conversation? And I found, I took a while off drinking, like 170 days a while back. And I found like I was going to all these dinners and lunches and just drinking and talking about nothing and having no conversation about anything deep, right? And you're just like, oh, the only way that I'm able to bear this and get through it and be entertained is with alcohol. And so like cut that out and probably cut some of those people out too.
Yeah. Well, and like you said before, when you become a parent, I don't have biological babies, but I have a lot of spiritual daughters. So all of that energy that you're allowing to siphon out with these people, right? And then the energy dip and the inflammation that the alcohol causes for it stays in your system 7 to 10 days. Is it worth it?
Yeah. No, 100.
Right? Yeah. The hangovers are not fun.
No.
Before you go, just because of the It Cosmetics situation, you have to tell us the top beauty product that you are loving right now.
Oh my gosh. There's so many. I'm sure like you, we're constantly trying different things. And I am because of the melanoma, I am trying to be more clean. I'm not perfect at it because some things you just love. But the Crunchy foundation I love. Crunchy foundation is clean. It's founded by 2 women, which I love supporting, female business owners.
Crunchy foundation, I'm going to look
at. Crunchy. And Ilia, also female, right, in California. Ilia, I've got that on today. I love it. It's still glowy. It feels good on the skin. I'm the Dr. Dennis wipes I'm obsessed with. So good. And then I just had a facial by a woman in Dallas, and she used these amazing French products. I will butcher it. It's like Biologique Recharge or something like that.
Love that brand.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
So
it's a great brand.
Yeah.
They're P50.
I'm new to them. So I'm just kind of dipping my toe.
I think you're fabulous. Come back on anytime.
Thank you.
Tell us where everyone can find you on your Instagram, your TikTok.
Yes, at Tiffany Hendra. I keep it easy. I hoe myself out. TiffanyHendra.com.
And also, Tiffany loves ice rolling, you guys.
Oh, I did it this morning.
I know. I've seen her ice rolling. Have you had the balls?
No.
Have you tried I brought you balls.
Oh,
I brought you the balls.
Thank you.
I didn't think you had the balls.
I'm going to call, I love the term lady balls. These are going to be my pink lady balls.
Those are the only balls you want on your face.
And thank you. I have to say, thank you for making that ice roller because I had all the Amazon janky ones.
It doesn't compare.
And
I'm just saying.
No. And I'm not either. And I'm not blowing smoke up your ass or anything like that. But I am somebody that uses it. And I did miss that in the morning routine spiel. Because while the water is boiling, I do the ice roller. I really do.
Habit stacking.
Yes, habit stacking. And I did it this morning. My hotel had a fridge, so.
Amazing. Well, you look great.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. You guys are awesome.